And we are live with Julia McCoy, aka the AI Content Queen. Interesting title. She's president at Content at Scale. So we're going to speak AI, SEO, starting a business, and everything in between. Julia, can you introduce yourself and tell us a bit more about your business?
Yes, thank you, Charles. Well, for the last 11 years, I've been in writing. Writing's my life. I turned that into a writing business, had 100 people. As I taught writing, it was all online content. So blogs, web pages, pretty much the content world. So as I learned how to do it, I was teaching others because I didn't find any practical information, whether it was like a HubSpot course or a corporate defined content strategy training. None of these things actually taught you how do you write content that brings in sales on your blog. So I've written 8 books along the way, developed courses that teach writers how to become that online writer that creates really good inbound content. So in 2021, I sold my writing agency. Pretty much, I was a little burned out, 10 years of doing it, wanted to do something new, but I also saw GPT on the horizon and I thought, okay, this could be a threat if I don't change what I'm doing and get out of it. So that year, it was actually really hard to sell. Our business was making so much money. So we sold it while it was going up, but that's when you sell. So that went well, got out of that in the fall. And in 2022, I spent the whole year consulting, coaching, which was a lot of fun. And towards the end of that year, we all know ChatGPT came out and it was the world's fastest adapted technology. So I was like, okay. So started using ChatGPT, didn't like it at all, was on a stage in December of 22 at Digital Marketing Institute, actually, digital marketer. And I was saying on that stage, don't use AI, a human is better. And then in January, I found the technology that I'm now working for, Content at Scale. And I'll tell you, it was a game changer. I started using it and I went from spending 7 hours to write a blog, research the blog, study SEO, find the keywords for the blog, write the thing, research, put in my links, 8+ hours of work. So I took that down to 1 hour using Content at Scale. And I'm like, this is revolutionary. This is the one that's going to change the game and probably replace what I used to do as a service for a living. So I decided to pitch the company a marketing plan, pitched them a plan on Saturday, got hired the next week, accepted a job, and then moved up to president in 2 months. So it's been a wild ride, let me tell you. And AI, I couldn't be more excited to be what is definitely a new frontier for content creation.
Interesting. Let's start with selling of the agency, because if something's making good money, it might, it's not why you sold it because it's good cash flow. So it might be because it was quite intense. What part of it did you not like? And did that coincide with having the new baby? What was the reason to sell that gold mine?
Yes. Yeah, definitely. Well, I've done a lot of growth in 2 years. It feels like 10 years of growth, actually. And my mindset when I sold that in 2021 was, yes, on one hand, like I have a second baby coming, I'm going to need to just take slower days. But interestingly enough, I have to say, since having the baby, I've probably worked more. What happens like when you have a kid and you are already a pretty efficient entrepreneur, I think it makes you an even more efficient entrepreneur. Because what happened was I now had to get very strict on my time. And I actually started doing more. Like the year he was born, I wrote 3 books. I usually write 1 book per year. So I got more efficient. So that was an unexpected discovery, I think, of yes, I thought I would need to have more time, but no, I actually got more done, strangely enough, got more efficient. But the other reason I sold was, 10 years of doing the same thing with 100 people. And I was just like, I need a change. And that change could be AI. So I kind of took a gamble there, but I have to say it paid off.
Parkinson's law is quite interesting. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to start applying the Parkinson's framework to my current life before I actually have children's. Why wait until children's to be hyper efficient? Seems like you probably have an army of bots working for you. I was first intrigued by the potential of AI in content and SEO with Jarvis. I had my reserves and my concerns. Is that content going to be low IQ? It mostly is if you don't know how to feed GPT the right prompts. what tools are you using nowadays to come up with these highly SEO'd articles, but that are also somewhat high IQ and value added to the folks that read them?
Oh, yes. Great question. Because you really have to have both. It's not just getting found in Google, it's creating content that satisfies that layer of, well, I need to make a decision from this content. I need to be informed. So your content needs to do a lot of things. So that's a good question. And I'll tell you, there's only one tool I'm using to develop that type of content, and it's content at scale. So it does all of that within one stack. And the stack is a proprietary layer of 3 different NLPs. So you have 3 different language models at work there. And then you have a semantic search crawler along with some other technologies. So the way it's built is it really replaces the human writer. It replaces the research and the work involved, and it can even replace a keyword research tool. We have some features coming out soon where you can do your keyword research right there in the tool. So pretty much you can do everything in that content piece you just described with that one single tool. And, I've tried to do this with ChatGPT, tried to have it write that level of content. And it just takes a ton of prompts, a ton of work. And then I end up going, well, why do it this way if my goal is to save time? So that's why I love this one tool stack that nails it and creates good content. And we're talking like a 3,000 word blog generated in 5 minutes. That's good and has almost everything you need. You still need to do some editing. You need to fact check. You need to add images. You need to make it your own personal piece of content. But, we're talking about 5 minutes. You're saving 7 hours of work. So.
Wow. SEO has been on my map this year. I'm interviewing various quote unquote SEO experts. I'm pretty sure 25% of them will be hybrids between SEO and AI, because a lot of folks have tough time catching up with these technologies, and they were like you when you started, you were resisting, which is like most humans. That and I often blog about that. But yeah, you're exciting me here because I want to find a system. I'll try content at scale. I've just signed up.
Amazing.
And potentially outsource the process to my assistant, the thesis being that we can pull in traffic, right? I'm an outreach guy, and it's beautiful because it scales and I have my fingers on the knob. I can control the flow of leads in my business, but quite bullish on SEO because it's autopilot. And my next question was exactly this, can I spend my full time and attention on ChatGPT? Well, you answered no. And I also had the potential no in my brain because first, ChatGPT is not actualized to 2023. So how will it know the current keywords? Well, that possibly brings us to Claude.ai or Hugging Face, or Bard kind of sucks,
It does.
Yeah. So I might try out these platforms, but I also try content at scale. I've seen some YouTube to blog. I've seen some blog to YouTube. That's quite interesting. But is it a fantasy that I could deploy 10 articles per day that are SEO'd? Let's say that in 1 month they would start pulling in, I don't know, 100 views per blog, or is it like the VC strategy in which out of 10 there's like one unicorn blog post that goes viral? How does it work, and is it possible, or is it a fantasy?
Well, you asked the most educated questions. I love it. So first of all, SEO is really a content quantity and quality game. You need both. So you need quantity, you need to be basically the ultimate go-to source on that topic. And you can't do it with one post. Generally, it's hundreds of pieces of content. And what that creates is this network of topical authority that then tells Google, oh, we're going to send you thousands of visitors because you know what you're talking about. So creating topical clusters, for example, if you're talking about how to get leads through cold email, well, you want to talk about all the types of leads you can get through cold email. You want to talk about cold email formats, examples, just like hammer that topic home. You could do 100 pieces probably on that one umbrella topic. So that's the approach, is you want to have quality and quantity. Now, the quality piece, content at scale, I have to say, really solves, right? Because it's doing the research, just like you said, it's pulling in keywords real time. So it's not pulling in old data. And then all your assistant would do is go in there and make it personalized to you. Like, this is how to reach Charles. This is examples of how Charles is succeeding at cold email. Go here to watch a testimonial. Or so you're going to personalize it to you that the AI can't do as well just yet. But I think that'll change pretty soon. I think you might have to do 2 minutes of work in the long run. And I'll tell you, your strategy of having your assistant do this, it lines up exactly with a process we teach called AIO, which is the human basically becomes the optimizer, and they can do 10 posts in a day. I actually have a YouTube case study, Can I Do 10 Blogs in a Day, where I break down how we are actually seeing people do 10 per day instead of like 10 per month. So you can 10x, 100x your output and still get good content. And the one fail safe that you have when you use a tool like this, it's a stack of 3 different LLMs, right? So it's not just one. It's accessing billions of data points, and it will always write unique content. And you don't necessarily get that with ChatGPT. That's the problem you can run into. It's like, oh, this is the same output as another user. But the way Content at Scale was built, it was built by SEOs that knew we got to solve this problem. And so every single time you put a blog out, it's unique content. And that's kind of mind-blowing that we're at a place where we can do that times 100 million blogs, but we can because that technology exists. So I think that's a great approach, is to actually give this software, I would encourage you to run a couple posts, but then give it to the person that usually either writes your content or, does maybe even outreach for you. Anyone with that kind of skill is going to do very well at going through the content and making it more personalized. And we do have a craft framework we teach. You can find it on our YouTube channel, Content at Scale, where we walk you through the craft steps, which are cut the fluff, review the content, add images, media, visuals, fact check. And then the last step is trust build. You're going to put in personal story, your own personal touch. So if they're following those steps, they're going to produce great SEO content every time. It's almost like a guarantee, which is crazy to say because you can't guarantee SEO. But I'm telling you, if we know it's a quality and a quantity game, this tool solves that problem.
I believe you. The power of AI is so exciting. The question I have though is, do I still need other tools like SEMrush, or can I just ask a chat like, what should I focus on and so forth? Is it a one-in-all tool, or do I still need these other tools?
Yeah. So our tool is only 11 months old, and it's getting built more and more every day. So coming down the pipeline, I want to say this would be a September, maybe even November launch. We will have topic suggestions. So we're going to be doing the keyword research inside the app for you. It'll look at your website and it'll actually suggest, hey, these are the next 10, the next 20 pieces of content you should do. So that's coming. I wish I could tell you it's here today, but it is coming. So right now you might need SEMrush for a little bit longer, but you won't.
Right. The other question, I guess, was on the quality aspect of things. So, I mean, AIs nowadays, they can probably write the article in an interesting tone, make you sound smart. But in reality, the IQ question at the moment is still human generated. It's still that edge, that little 5% green of exceeding value that I get from talking to 15 CEOs on a daily basis. And that's what I want to publish out there. I don't think an AI can do that. It will possibly be able to do so by crunching a bunch of data and correlating what are good insights vs not. It doesn't have the acting power as well. It cannot act as for now. I mean, we've talked about agents and so forth, but there's nothing out there that can be deployed, get feedback from human telling, okay, this works, So with that in mind, and granted that my assistant is also like on that IQ level, how do I go with this? I don't want to spend too much of my time, or maybe I can straight up give a quick list of cool insights that I develop. My assistant writes it down, or GPT writes it down, and features it in a couple of posts and repeats it under different angle. Maybe I can optimize for a long tail keyword, cold email for SEO agencies. That would be the article. And then I could repeat the same insight that is unique to me. Would that be the strategy there for having high value added and not just like SEO bland blog posts?
Yes, yes, exactly. So once your assistant knows your process, and let me ask you, does she like work with you enough to just know that, or would you need to document it?
I need to document it, and she's 2 weeks in. So yeah, it's quite new.
Oh, yes. Okay. Yeah. So all you could do, honestly, and this is what I do with my writers, because all my writers are AIOs now. I run the Content Hacker. It's my personal brand, and it's completely run this way. It's beautiful, saving so much of my time. So what you could do is just kind of like open up some screens that are relevant to your process, cold email outreach for specific group of people. So let's say you pull up that cold email that you use. Maybe you pull up some other example, something that sells, maybe it's like proof of ROI or something. And then you just make her a loom talking through, hey, here's how I convince and convert this person. Hey, here's my magic sauce. And then she can take that loom, watch it, take that into the AI driven piece and write something unique every time, where it's, we end the blog talking about Charles' unique sales process, Charles' unique viewpoint on how to achieve this result, secret sauce type of thing. So that is exactly how to wrap up a blog and do something that AI can't do, which, like you said, I think you summed it up really beautifully. AI can't basically assimilate a human process in a way a human can do. Why? Because that process is unique to you. There's only like one person that does it a unique way that you do, and you're about to share it with many more people, which is great. But that's your unique process. Maybe you stumbled on it. Maybe you refined it in a unique way. So that's what the AI can't do yet.
Because I was talking in that specific case as per my brain generated insights from talking with folks on podcasts. I think an AI could do that. If it scrapes that data I publish on YouTube, for example, from voice to text, and then analyze and crisscross similarities between COs, it would even be better if the same questions would be asked all the time, which is not the format of that pod. I'm planning to have a robot run that one. And it could also scrape my own content and tell folks that, oh, Charles' writing style is like this. I think it could go pretty deep on insights, just that, yeah, I need to talk to AI folks on that one to see like what, because I'm talking about analysis here. What is analysis? It's me I fancy myself as a good analyst or a good person to analyze folks, oh, she's potentially that way because that happened and so forth. Again, crisscross, correlate information and so forth. Would my VA be good at that? Potentially. Maybe she could learn it. Would an AI be good at that? Potentially, depending on the level and scale. Yeah, I'm going left and right here, but it's an interesting convo because we're talking about scale. Both of us are obsessed with scale. My question for you though is like, when you were on that stage and thinking that AI couldn't scale, why was that? And what has changed in your mind since then? Because I've been studying AI for the past 7 years. Like a godfather of AI was in Montreal, Yoshua Bengio, and I've always been like super bullish on it. So what changed in your mind, and what are people not bullish on AI missing out from the bigger picture?
Yes. I think it was two things for me. First of all, I am definitely a risk taker. I think you can relate to that. We pivot quickly. Things either work or they don't, and we see the truth very quickly. So on one hand, you kind of have to have a fluid mindset. And on the other piece of it for me was ChatGPT just didn't save me time in my specific work case, which was the long form SEO content. It was actually wasting time. We had to rewrite a ton of very superficial, incorrect facts. And we were just like, no, can't do this. And then further prompting still. And it's amazing for other use cases. I've used it for email copy, headlines, strategy, ideation, targets, different audience targets. So it's great for a number of things. But like the actual writing of a deeply researched SEO piece takes a lot of prompting. So that's why I was just like, I can't get behind this yet because I don't see it working yet for me and my specific thing that I sell, that I'm known for. And if I guide people wrong, guess who's responsible? Julia. So that's why I was like, don't do this yet. Many people that follow me can't, it's not going to go that well. And then in January, when I spent a week, was literally testing out 50 different AI tools, come across Content at Scale. And I see in front of me everything that I need to have to be able to write a well-researched, high quality, high ranking, topically authoritative piece of content. And so I see all of that in front of me. So I'm like, okay. And then I go test it and I'm blown away. It's good content. Sure, there's some errors. We got to fix some things, but I know this is going to save me and my writer hours and hours and hours of time. Like it's doing the real-time SEO research. It's incorporating those terms into the piece. It's linking to facts. And we have over 3,000 words that are all structured with headers, subheaders, table of contents, like all those little things, like just formatting a table of contents took my writer 20 minutes. That's all automated in this piece of content done in 5 minutes. So I went from completely anti-AI in the long form writing process to, okay, you all have to use this tool. It's amazing. It's mind blowing. Let your human writers either go or 10x their output. And so that's what I was saying in January, which was a complete 180. Why? Because the technology worked. And when I saw it work, like it would be stupid to hang your hat on a hill or plant your flag on a hill. That hill's going to die. The people that are on that hill, they're all going to die. Like long form writers, they need to get on this AI train or their work is going to go away. People, businesses, brands, executives that have budgets to manage, they're not going to hire those writers anymore if they know that spending $900 on one blog, you can do that at 1/10 the cost with AI. And it sounds brutal, but isn't life brutal? And it's up to us to adapt and grab these opportunities. So I think that's a great question. And it really comes down to mindset. You got to think differently than the rest of the herd. You got to be ready to adapt. Don't be a stuffy, opinionated writer that likes human writing too much. Don't do that. Be ready to adapt and embrace this new technology. And it might feel weird, but you'll get used to it.
Yeah, it's like people in my native Quebec holding off to French, like I think you mentioned it quite well when we started. We chase truisms, you and I, so we constantly test out stuff and we go for the truth via the emotional reaction to things. I would invite people to adapt to this as well, and the question is, why do some old folks, quote unquote, take forever to adapt things? Can't you just try the technology, maybe test it and see for yourself? I mean, you've got the aha moment. Your brain, it got like everything released in one moment, massive serotonin shot, holy shit moment, I think if people stray away from the pain model, which is you and I telling them like, dude, your job is going to go instinct, and go where the serotonin is, aka experimenting and releasing massive amounts of serotonin once there's a product market fit or once there's a results to experiment, I think things should go well. Last question, because I know you need to go. What are your objective in the next 6 months? What do you want to accomplish?
Yes. Well, my goal is to help Content at Scale, which I'm now the president of, thoroughly enjoying it, help it become one of the leading AI brands, and not just technology wise. I'm leaving that up to the product team. I'm not a tech person. I'm a creative person. But as I see this technology work, use it for myself every day, which I'm doing, I definitely walk the talk. My goal is to help people like me adapt to this new world. So I'm building models. I'm going and teaching these models. We did a live training with this large SEO group that hired me. It was over 600 people on a Zoom call, and they all got to see this new model of the AIO approach, the craft framework, how to reduce your time and your cost by 25x. We had one case study. That's what they're saving. Unbelievable. Going from a human writing agency to the AIO with Content at Scale, starts at, our cost is anywhere from $30 per post down to $15 per post. And that is a post that directly competes with, if you go to fiverr.com, you search SEO writers and you look at the pros, they're charging $900 for what is now a $15 piece of content with AI. What? But it doesn't mean the humans not need it. It means the human's role changes. And so my goal is really, like, in the next 6 months, to establish something that will be basically able to help the entire marketing industry adapt successfully. And it's answering that question. Well, if I'm not a human writer, what am I? You are an AIO. That role has changed. And so what's the skills you need to have? What do you need to know? What technology do you need to use? So that's my goal, is to help as many people as I can. And, we have over 1,000 users growing every single day. So it's amazing to be here and be able to create impact for people like me that were once, I was definitely fearful last year. I used to charge for this as a service. What's going to happen to me? So I have definitely found my new calling, and my goal is to help other writers find theirs.
Thank you so much, Julia. Where can people find out more about you and Content at Scale?
Yes. So if you Google Julia McCoy, you'll see I'm on Amazon. I've written 8 books. One of them's a memoir. I have a really crazy story. I escaped a cult in the middle of the night. So that's a book. Yes. That's a whole conversation in and of itself. We can talk about that back on Charles's podcast if you want.
Round 2.
Yes. So books, you can find me on LinkedIn. I publish a lot of good content on LinkedIn, Julia McCoy. And then, of course, contentatscale.ai. And if you go to our blog there, I write. It's not written with AI yet, because I still really like to write. So there's a newsletter that goes out every Friday, and I kind of like rant on the state of AI, and I share like what's going on, or, the conversations I had at this event we went to with 700 people. So there's a lot of cool insights you'll read from that newsletter. It's the weekly cash